African National Congress's conference has resolved to speed up emergency procurement of alternative energy sources to combat load shedding. It has approved the presidential economic stimulus plan that details economic reform. However, the party believes that renewables alone cannot solve the energy crisis and that a mix is required. Govan Whittles is attending the economic dialogue, with the ANC's national chairperson and head of the Economic Transformation Committee also being in attendance. So, Govan, a little while ago we heard from the SACP, and they're of the view that government has adopted a neoliberal posture which is pushing the interests of private or profit-driven individuals.
Yeah, they're referring to the independent power producers contracts, the IPPs that are so controversial, that were discredited or criticized by COSATU. The thing is that the ANC's conference in its second leg has approved a strategy to speed up even more emergency procurement through those very same IPPs. And they believe that this will bridge the gap in providing South Africa sustainable energy sources in a bid to try and stop load shedding. Interestingly, though, they don't believe that only renewable energy sources are the way to bridge the gap for the shortfall that we currently have. Mantashe, the national chairperson of the ANC, briefly taking part in this economic dialogue, which in principle is being led by Mamoloko Kubai, the head of the Economic Transformation Committee. But he's saying that this dialogue should contemplate whether renewables can solve the energy crisis. This dialogue is heard from energy experts who said plainly that it can't. We know that Mantashe has been pushing for Eskom to increase its energy availability factor from 50% to 75%. He's adamant that the 20,000 megawatts connected to the grid but not being produced currently should be utilized, essentially that Eskom should be run more efficiently, that they should be able to get more out of their power stations. We've heard from the power utility and their explanations for why they can't do this. This is all really important because as the ANC was wrapping up its conference last night, the country was on stage 4. Load shedding, and the ANC had insulated the venue where they were holding their conference. Today they're in the communities, which they hope to get out to the stadium on Sunday to listen to the January 8th statement. These communities aren't insulated from load shedding. They're experiencing it as we speak. The president will be in the community later addressing a mini rally, and what's on the people's minds is inconsistent energy supply as well as water cuts and the general slow pace of the economic growth leading to a lack of job creation. Mantashe adamant that in the face of all this, renewables just aren't the only answer to South Africa's energy problems. They'll have to continue with that mix. And now the conference has given the resolution to speed up emergency procurement. Should note that it also includes gas, which has been labeled by the International Energy Agency as a green source of energy, paving the way for that to be part of the just transition. But Mantashe believing that Eskom, through the people that supply it, does have the capacity to buy the diesel and keep the power stations running, or at least the generators at the power stations if they so wish. Let's listen to this comment that he gave to Newzroom Afrika on the sidelines of the economic dialogue, and after that we'll talk about the comments from the energy expert Jacob Marocha. He's the former CEO of Eskom, and let's have a listen to what the energy minister and chairperson of the ANC had to say.
Now the IRP is being reviewed already. We're hoping to complete that process by March 2023 and actually come up with a new IRP. In essence, the IRP is a rolling policy model which you must review all the time. For example, in the last IRP, our assessment was that the energy availability factor would be 75%, it's at 50 now. So we'll have to visit that and adjust the plan. What we are not adjusting is the importance of an energy mix. We are not migrating from coal to renewables. Energy mix, balance the technologies, ensure that as you deal with cleanliness of the environment, you equally deal with the energy poverty.
What is wrong today is that we've got a baseload coal-fired power station of Eskom, which is supposed to perform at a expected percentage of about 70 to 75%, and is actually operating at 50%. Any other discussion, unless you deal with the solution to that crisis, any other thing will not bring us closer to a solution. So we need to firstly acknowledge the nub of the problem. Now, many reasons have been given. I think we'll go into them to say old plants, sabotage, maintenance. However, whatever the problem is, for me is, unless we solve this baseload crisis in the short to medium term, we may not see it in the long term. We may not even see the transition.
Govan Whittles, you do wonder how honest these conversations have been, especially when we take a look at the United Kingdom making known its intention to mine coal, right, while countries on the continent are being encouraged to drop the use of coal, and the reasons have been made known to us. And we know that Europe is also facing an energy crisis, and so in relation to what we are facing, how honest or accurate was the panel discussion?
Well, what the panel had focused on was the solutions that they believe the ANC need to implement in order to achieve energy security in South Africa, something that's been elusive for 20 years now. And while they do insist that coal needs to be part of the solution, there is huge acknowledgement here that there's a need to transition away from fossil fuels to greener energy and try and achieve net zero status. Of course, Mantashe believing that it should be a slow transition away from coal, which reskills the communities in Mpumalanga, particularly where the coal belt is, towards greener energies. The former Eskom CEO, Andre de Ruyter, had pointed out that they're going to try to open up renewable sites in Mpumalanga. The reality is that the best place in South Africa to do that is the Northern Cape, where you have a lot of sunshine for most of the year and a lot of wind at night. And there are also evacuation sites there, which essentially means the infrastructure needed to transfer solar and wind energy into energy and put it into the grid already exists in large parts, and where it doesn't exist, it's a matter of upgrading. So there would be a significant threat to the communities in Mpumalanga if they embark on a quick transition away from coal. That's the predicament that the ANC is facing. In the UK and in Europe, they've been hit by the Russia-Ukraine war outcomes, which has jeopardized energy security because of the sabotage to the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, which supplies gas from Russia through Poland to much of Germany and other states in the European Union. But what is clear is that there is an intention to transfer away from fossil fuels sooner than some of the developing nations such as South Africa. They say South Africa is a guinea pig, but Eskom is the largest polluter on the African continent. And that is a big problem for South Africa, and one that they need to solve, because Emalahleni is also known to have some of the worst air quality in the world because of the number of coal-fired power stations there. Those are the immediate problems and immediate risks to the environment that South Africa is under pressure to deal with, and that's certainly what the President has committed to dealing with. That's the complex position that we're in, having to balance livelihoods on one hand while preventing further damage to the environment on the other.
Also precarious. Thank you very much, Govan Whittles, for that update.